Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. All right, so it's late in the golf season, and what that means is that the ponds on all the courses are starting to get pretty gnarly. They start to get a film on them that smells and stinks, and sometimes around the edges it starts to dry up and get a little bit mucky. And last week I actually walked past one that sent me back, like it had the particular smell that brought one of those memories back to the front of my brain. It was about, 15 years ago, I used to work at a country club, and I used to run the junior golf program where we would teach kids to chip and putt, teach them the rules of the game, and we had a consistent group of kids. And one day late in the year, I remember this very well because it was late in the season, and all of a sudden, this one car pulls up that we don't recognize. And a lady gets out, she's an older lady, and she's dressed like perfectly. She pulls up in a beautiful Mercedes. She's in all white, wearing gold bracelet, watch, necklace, earrings, whatever it is. I mean, she's just covered in what I would assume is really nice things. She gets out of the car, she wrestles the bag out of the trunk, and she walks up with a girl nobody recognizes. She says, "Hey, this is my granddaughter, and she's staying with us for a week, and I just want her to have some interaction with other kids her age." And then she kind of leans over to me and she says, "And we'd like you to tire her out a little bit before she comes home." So we said, "Oh yeah, great, she can come with us." So this course had it had 18 holes on one side and 9 on the other. We'd always cart all the kids down to the other 9 holes. And it was like a train of carts, right? Like we'd always race, and the kids wanted one to the other. They didn't realize the carts all go the same speed, so it literally was a train. Like we're essentially attached to one another. We get down there and we're playing a little bit of golf, and this little girl has never played this course before, and she's pretty good, actually. I've been impressed with her not ever playing before, or at least at this course. And she hits her ball into a pond, okay? And when I say into, it's not exactly into. She hits it on top of the pond because the ponds are so nasty at this point that the muck is so thick that the ball sits up on top. Having never played this course before, she thinks she can go retrieve this ball and walk right on top of it. And I'm far enough away that I can't do anything to stop it at this point. And I see her far off in the distance. She's running to get her ball, and she takes one step in and is doing all right, but it's that second step that kind of killed her, and she falls flat on her face, covered in mud, and I have no idea what her reaction is going to be. I'm thinking she's going to come up bawling. I'm just going to have to calm her down. I have no idea what's going on. All the other kids are kind of laughing. She props herself up on her knees and looks around, just gets a huge smile on her face. And you can imagine, right? Like it's all mud, except for this little girl's white smile. She just thinks it's hilarious. So as she comes out of the pond, everybody's kind of intrigued, like, "You're okay? This is funny to you?" But as she comes towards us, you can just smell that stink of the pond. And we realize, oh man, her grandma's going to be upset, right? And nobody wants to ride in her cart. So we're piling kids like 7 onto a cart because no one wants to ride in this girl's cart. Since I was ultimately responsible for it, I put her in my cart and we drive up there. And I'm like breathing off to the side so that I don't have to smell and breathe in the stench. We get up to the top, and I have no idea what's going to happen. Her grandma pulls up in her beautiful Mercedes. She gets out of her car in her white outfit. She walks right up to her granddaughter. She gets down on her knees. She gives her granddaughter the biggest hug. She pulls her away by the shoulders. She said, "Did you have fun today?" My mind was blown. All of the excuses, all of the rationale I was coming up with in my head to kind of explain this away just went away. My heart melted. And in that moment, I realized that this is exactly how God is with us. God sees past the stink and the dirt and the grossness in our lives, and He gives us a huge hug. He's always open arms. He wants us to experience joy. In fact, in Romans 5:8, it says that God loved us enough that He sent His Son while we were still sinners. So while we were still dirty and gross and broken, He sent His Son for us. He saw past the junk. And I think that there's 2 spots in this story that we exist in often. One, sometimes we're the little girl, and we just don't want to forgive ourselves. We don't see ourselves as pretty. We always see ourselves as gross. But Romans 5:8 says that that's not how God sees us. But then I think if we take it one step further, often we're also all the other kids that spread out and didn't want anything to do with this girl because she stunk and was dirty and was gross. And in our lives, I want to challenge us to be more like the grandma, to be more like God, where we can see past the junk in people's lives and we can get down on their levels like Jesus did, and we can see past the junk. Because if we do that, more people will see a more accurate picture of who God is in our lives. Because we have been forgiven and God's seen past it in us, I encourage us to be able to do the same. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to follow us each week, click here to subscribe. And if you want to take it a little bit further, click here for discussion materials.